Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Minecraft plugin tutorial coding series. And in today's lesson, I'm going to actually teach you how to make this cow explode. Come here, cow. Oh my goodness. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make some exploding cows. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Obviously, if you don't like to make cows explode, I'm going to show you how to edit this to practically any other entity, which brings me nicely to something called events. Welcome to the Minecraft plugin tutorial series. If you have not checked the first two videos in this chapter, please do so now, because this one will actually build on top of what we have started in the last session. So what are we going to cover today? I'm going to teach you about events and listeners. I'm going to show you all events in Minecraft. I'm going to talk a little bit about event priorities and how to cancel and how to modify these events. Please also check the blog post in the video description for source codes and also more in-depth explanations, because we have limited time in this YouTube video. So there I can go into more depth. And if you want to go full depth, we actually have a full coding course. It is called Project Orion. It is a full 7-week Minecraft coding program, includes an entire Java course, especially if you want to make Minecraft plugins. It has 30-day money-back guarantee, and the best of all, I am on there twice per week to answer any questions on something called live coaching calls. So having said that, let me introduce you the concept of Minecraft events. These are basically actions that happen in the game or from another plugin, for example, player join event, block break event, etc. You can see a list of all of these events if you click on the papermc.io link. Let me just click it together to show you where that is. So if you click on paper right here, you're going to see all bunch of packages inside the Paper API. So what we want to do, we want to search for event, and then you can see all these highlighted packages. These Paper event and the Paper MC Paper event here, these are newer events. I'm going to be talking about the most basic, the oldest original events in the Bukkit API. For example, if you open up player related events right here, you can see some very basic events such as player chat event, player drop item event. Actually, this one I would not use, and I'll explain later why is the case, so be careful with that one. If you want to use the chat event, is actually called async player chat event. And we have also player, where is that? Join event, hopefully is there, yeah, which is fired when the player joins. There is dozens and dozens of other events. You can just have a look yourself, and then you can basically edit your server using plugins hooking into these events very easily, and I'm going to teach you how to do it in a second. So basically, there is a difference between sync and async events. Please refer back to the very first video in this series. Most events happen on the main thread, which I explained in the very first video in the heartbeat. And then some events, such as the chat event, now happen on another threads. This is because of performance reasons. Players will be able to chat even if the server is crashing, even if the server is frozen or lagging, right? So you'll still be able to send chat, and it makes it just better experience because you will not experience any delays. Some events can be also called from a different thread. I don't want to confuse you too much, guys. Just know that there's a difference, and know that, remember the very first video, we had the circle right there, the heartbeat. So async events happen outside of the circle, while sync events happen on that heartbeat circle. Now we have something called event listeners. So practically what this means, the server is going to scan all classes which implement listener for event methods. And to do that, we use something called the event handler annotation. And don't worry, I'll show you the code in just a second. So to listen for a specific event, we need to create a method that is annotated with this annotation. And the method does not return anything and has a single parameter, which is the event itself. This is how it looks like. So we have a listener class which implements listener. That means that the Bukkit is going to listen for events inside this entire class. And then we want to start off by saying event handler, and then public void. This means it does not return anything. Then the name of the method, it does not matter. I just like to call it in a meaningful way. And then the actual event that we want to listen for. So player join event right here. And then inside these two brackets is what will happen when the player joins. Bukkit will automatically fire this method on player join. Now, to do that, how does Bukkit actually knows where these listener classes are? Well, we have to register these classes. So the server needs to know where they are. And to register these classes, we need to go to the main plugins method, go to the server, get plugin manager, and register events. And then it we need to put in a listener instance. So this will work just fine if you create a new player listener here. And then the plugin instance, which happens to be in the main class. So we can just use this, which is going to return the current instance of the plugins class. So I'm just going to show you how that works. I already have some code right here, but I can just get rid of all that. The best practice is to actually have the event class in a different class. And the best practice also says that we should prefix the name of the class by listener. So say I'm going to just be creating a new class for the cows, which is going to be listening for entity right-clicking or entity interaction, if you will. And I'm just going to give it a nice name, entity listener. Now, this is a simple class, and we can make it implement a listener from the Bukkit package. There we go. Now, to make sure that Bukkit knows where to find this class, we need to go inside our own enable. And we can actually get rid of these messages because we don't use them really. And we can open up the server, get plugin manager, and then register events. And here I can simply type in new entity listener, and then the plugin instance is this one, the current instance. If you want to call this from any other place, then you can change the get server to Bukkit, and then you'll have the same methods available. However, make sure to register these events when the plugin is enabled to make sure that they are always available. And now there is nothing inside. Now we can actually start coding our listener. So I'm just going to start off by creating a new event handler, and then public void on entity right click. And then I can listen for player interact entity event, which happens if I hover my mouse here. It says an event that is called when the player right-clicks an entity. And if you can't see this, if you can't see this for whatever reason, please refer back to the last video, and I give you some tweaks inside your IntelliJ in your settings to get that documentation up. So I explain how that works there. Now, we need to check if the event right-click entity is an instance of a cow, like this one, and then we can get the cow. And we need to cast it, because if you just call the get right click, it's just going to return a generic entity class. So we have to specify that this is a cow, because now we have checked it. This is a cow that's being right clicked. And the way to create an explosion is to actually open up the cows world and then call the create explosion method right here at a specific location. So we can just get the cow's location, and the power right here can be any number. If you type in 4 float, it is going to be as strong as a TNT. I just don't like that. I'm just gonna give it a little bit less strength. Now the F there represents something called float. You have something called double. So basically, if you want to specify decimal numbers that have dots, then you need to pick in Java. There's 2 types of decimal numbers, and this method takes the other one. So we have to specify that this is an F for float. Obviously, this, guys, I don't want to confuse you too much. If you don't know the difference, please check out the Java course inside Project Orion, where I'm going to explain the difference in greater details. I don't have enough time to cover the entire Java program. I might have like a YouTube free Java crash course, if you will, but nothing trumps like an in-depth course where I can actually show you why this is written the way that it is. So I highly, highly suggest you guys check that program, and you're going to have a full understanding of Java, syntax, and everything as well. Good. That is it. Then we can just make sure to compile the plugin and check it out how it works in the game. Okay, guys, so now in the game, if I right-click a cow, it should blow. There we go. And then if I right-click someone else or something else, right, like this one, it says right-clicked craft villager. So that is a class. I actually placed a new method right here called event get right-clicked and then get the class. And this is not entirely clear if you have not followed the first video, where I explained that the villager, the cow class, actually is implemented by something called craft cow in the craft Bukkit package, right? So this is the actual class behind the scenes inside the NMS prefix right here, not the NMS package as a whole, but this one basically comes from craft Bukkit. Again, guys, a bit confusing. I don't want to overwhelm you, but just know that, you know, this is here. And if you do want to change this code, just go inside the game, click wherever you want to click, and then you can copy the name of the class without the craft prefix. So you can change that to say villager. Or the second way how you can change that is you can open up the type of it, and then you can open up the entity type, and here you can just go with cow. And here you can actually have a look at all these entities to make it very simple. So if you only want to explode zombies, this is the way that you can do it. Great. Moving forward, there's something called event priorities, and I'm going to go over this just briefly. There's more information below in the blog post. So what basically happens if multiple plugins listen to the same event? Well, there can be a conflict. So the way Bukkit solved these conflicts, they introduced something called the priority system. There's 6 priorities starting from the lowest, which you can see on the screen hopefully, going down to monitor. And this is a bit of a opposite of what would make sense, because the lowest priority actually gets called first, and then the highest and monitor gets called as last. If you need to have the last say in your plugin, please listen on highest priority, because the monitor priority is used for just logging plugins, etc. You do not change or explode cows on monitor priority. And if you don't specify a priority, it is going to be normal one. Here is a great example. So if we have two event methods, both listen for player join. The first one does not have any priority. The other one says that it's the highest priority. Then the highest one is actually in the console. You're going to see the message, this is called last, being called after, this is called first. So here, if I would duplicate this, and here I would simply print out 1 or 2, and I would call this late, then we can do event priority, say highest, and then this is normal. So this one is supposed to actually be called afterwards. So just keep this in mind. This is very handy if you want to resolve conflicts, or if 2 plugins are listening to the same event at the same priority and cause interference, then you can simply resolve conflict by changing or upgrading or lowering the priority. There's also something called canceling events. So some events can be canceled. For example, block break event, preventing the given action from being completed. These events implement the cancelable interface, which is handy if you want to check if the event is cancelable or not. You can ignore canceled events in the event handler annotation or by checking event is canceled. So practically right here, event interact entity, player interact entity event. I think it's a cancelable event because we can call set cancel to true, right? And if you want to check if the event already was canceled, say by a plugin listening to it on a lower priority, you can simply check using if event is canceled. And you can actually then uncancel the event and let the cow explode if another plugin is blocking it. You can also use the ignore canceled, set it to true inside the event handler. That means that the entire code is not going to be fired if the event was canceled previously by another plugin or another method listening on a lower priority. So just keep this in mind. This is how you can deny events. For example, you have the block break event. If you cancel it, the player is not going to be able to break any blocks. Good, good, good. That's it. That was a very quick, brief walkthrough through events. Again, if you need more in-depth information, please refer to the blog post, and don't be afraid to experiment, guys. I really encourage you to open up this class, create 3 to 5 different events, see which methods you have available, play around with this. It's a bunch of fun, and I'll see you in the next video, because there we're going to be actually making commands to spawn custom entities, custom monsters, which only explode, because now every cow, every zombie is going to explode. We obviously don't want that. In the next video, we're actually just going to make only our specific cows explode. It's going to be a bunch of fun, and I'll see you there.